Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐵.
Hello friends, very good evening. This is Vijay. So in our today's discussion, we are going to discuss some 5 topics, right? So it has been showing in the display. The first and foremost article is Canada-India relations. So recently we have been witnessing several skirmishes has been surfacing in the Indian-Canada relation, right? So that's what I had taken it as a first article. Then the second article is related to the high blood pressure. So in today's newspaper, I found some 2 articles and they were having several facts related to the international stats. Okay. So this is the second article we are having. Then third article is related to the UN climate ambition action. So this is the third article. Then fourth article is related to the Ponzi scheme. With respect to this article, you no need to go deep into the topic. Just we need to know the Ponzi scheme and what are the preventive mechanisms we are having for the Ponzi scheme, right? Then the last article is related to India's schooling action plan. The article, it came in the editorial page, but I would advise we need to know what is meant by India's schooling action plan and what is the brushless DC motor. So these are the 2 facts we need to know with respect to that editorial article, right? So without any further delay, let us dive into the discussion part. So this is the first article, guys. Visa services passed amid Canada tussle, right? So it came in the front page. So here, before getting into the article, we need to know what is happening between India and Canada, right? So with respect to this article, I am having some background information for you. So all it started in the month of June. So the 𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐴𝐺, he is the chief of the Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay, so it is a banned organization in India, and 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐴𝐺, he was stationed in Canada. In the month of June, some unknown people, they have assassinated 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐴𝐺. Okay, so this is the brief about the background and the consequences. Let me explain one by one. So after the assassination of 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐴𝐺, so the investigations were happened and the Canada government, they actually released an official press statement in which they stated that there was an involvement of RAW, which means the Research and Analysis Wing of India, in the assassination of 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐴𝐺. Okay, so this was the statement made by the Canadian government. And India stated that we don't have any such involvement in the assassination of 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐴𝐺. So the Canada government, meanwhile, they outed and expelled the Indian RAW chief. So in each and every country, either they may be a hostile country or maybe a friendly country, right? Each and every country, they will be doing espionage activities in their foreign soil. To protect the core interest of the nation, they will be doing the espionage activities. So Canada also know about the presence of RAW in their Canadian soil. But Canada, it outed, it expelled Indian RAW chief by naming him. So if we are naming the intelligence chief or intelligence officials, means we are considering the concerned foreign state as a hostile state. So then only the people will be naming the chief and they will be expelling them. In the past also it happened between India and Pakistan, and during the Cold War between USSR and US, the same scenario happened. Okay, so the KGB agents were named by US and they were expelled from the United States soil. So generally, if we are naming and if we are expelling the intelligence chief, means which states that we are considering particular state as a hostile state, not as a friendly state. Between the friendly state, if there are any skirmishes are arising, means people, they won't be naming the chief, but they will be expelling. But they will be expelling on the humanitarian grounds or any other grounds. But they won't be naming the chief. Okay. So this is the prime thing we need to know. So after the Canada's move, India also retaliated by naming and expelling the the Canadian intelligence chief. Okay, so India retaliated with the same amount of anger what the Canada showed in its official statement. So this is the brief what it had happened with respect to the expulsion and the naming of the intelligence chiefs, right? Then both nations, they also stated that they are going to reduce the number of officials in their high commissions. So both India and Canada, they stated that they will be reducing the number of officials in the high commissions. Meanwhile, both the countries, both Canada and India, they advised the travel passengers to take a note on the travel advisories. And they also issued a caution notice to the passengers who are traveling between Canada and India, because the relationship is not so good. So that's what we are cautioning you, like that they have been stating to Meanwhile, India and Canada, they also issued travel advisories to the passengers, because we are having a close contact between the people in Canada and India, right? Almost we are having 17 lakh people as migrants in Canada. So both countries, they issued a sensitive travel advisories to their passengers, and they advised not to travel for unnecessary activities between India and Canada. So these are all the scenarios it has been happening after the assassination of 𝐒𝐻𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐵. Okay. So with respect to this article, we need to know about the 𝐶halistan movement, how it was started, and what are the incidents we are having in the historical past, and what are the repercussions we are facing now. So these are the brief we need to know about the 𝐶halistan movement, right? So the 𝐶halistan movement, it actually came into existence in the timeline between 1970s to 1980s. So between 1970s and 1980s, not all Sikh people, some few members of Sikh diaspora, they actually supported the 𝐶halistan movement. Their core demand, they will be having some objectives, right? Each and every outfit, they will be having certain objectives. So their main objective is to create Punjab as a separate sovereign nation. So this is the main objective. Basically, they want to bifurcate India and Punjab. This is their main demand. Okay. So there were several organizations were operating behind the screen. Here, I had given some of the organizations. Okay. So BKI, Babar Khalsa International, and KTF and KCF are the Khalistan Tiger Force and Khalistan Commando Force. Then we are having KZF, then ISYF and SFJ. So ISYF means the International Sikh Youth Federation, and SFJ means Sikh for Justice. So these are the few organizations, they were operating for the 𝐶halistan movement. So the 𝐻𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐵, he was the chief of the Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay. So the 𝐻𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐵 is the chief of the Khalistan Tiger Force. Okay. And they will be receiving some supports, right, with respect to the finance, then with respect to the external supports. So they are having a integrated network with the Pakistan ISIs. So previously, between the timeline of 1970s to 1980s, the Pakistan's ISI, they were actively supporting the 𝐶halistan movement, and they were acting as a safe haven for the 𝐶halistan terror groups. Okay. Basically, they actually used Pakistan as a terror launch pads against India. Okay. And the financial support. So generally the Sikh people, they are having a concrete diaspora in each and every foreign destinations. So they were contributing some amount every month from their salary. And these 𝐶halistan outfits, they were also actively involving in their drug cartels. So generally, they actually procured their drugs from Pakistan and they penetrated it into the Indian soil through Punjab. So this is how their drug cartels have been functioning. Okay. So even today, we can witness most of the drug addicts will be from Punjab and Haryana, right? So this is the main reason behind the drug addicts. The number of drug addicts is massive in the state of Punjab and Haryana. And with respect to the 𝐶halistan movement, I hope you all well known about the Operation Blue Star. Okay. So the Operation Blue Star, it was launched to flesh out the terror outfits who were stationed in the Golden Temple, right? And apart from that, we are also having several other incidents near Ireland. So there were one incident, Air India 182 bombing. So basically, we used to term that flight incident as a Air Kanishka bombing. So in that Air Kanishka, it belongs to Air India. Okay, so in that Air Kanishka, so while traveling, almost 329 passengers were there, and almost 280 plus passengers belongs to Canada. So most of the victims were Canadians, and the blast all happened because of the terror bombing. So the Air India 182 bombing was engineered by the Khalistan outfits, and it had taken a toll of almost 329 passengers. Only 20 plus passengers were Indians, and the majority of the passengers, as I already told you, they belongs to Canada. Okay, then I no need to explain about the Operation Blue Star, because I hope you all had gone through the Operation Blue Star and the assassination of Indira Gandhi, right? Then the anti-Sikh riot also happened in and across the Delhi against the Sikh people. But somehow the Indian government, they could able to manage and they could able to suppress the Khalistan movement by 1990s. Okay, so between the ISI and between the RA, some agreement happened, and it resulted in the curtail of the support from the Pakistan to the Khalistan movement. So this is how we suppress the Khalistan movement. But after the Mumbai 2008 terror attack, Pakistan, it again started to support the Khalistan movement in an active way. So this is how the Khalistan movement has been resurfacing in the Indian soil. Meanwhile, the Canada government also have been providing safe haven to the terror outfits who belongs to the Khalistan movement. So India also named it as a safe haven while mentioning the Canada, right? So previously we were using to mention the safe haven, the term, only to Pakistan. But with regard to the recent ongoing issues, the Indian government, they also named the Canada has been providing safe haven to the terror outfits who belong to the Khalistan movement. Okay, so this is the brief about the historical Khalistan movement, right? Now with this note, let us discuss what are the repercussions we are having in India and Canadian ties. So basically guys, with respect to the bilateral trade between India and Canada, we are almost having 10 billion US dollar. Okay, so both the countries, they are trading around some 10 billion. So here with respect to Canada-India trade relations, India is having some edge over Canada. So we are having a trade surplus of 2 billion US dollar. Okay, so we are amounting to some 6 billion annually. Meanwhile, Canada has a value around 4 billion. Okay, and with respect to India, Canada has been receiving massive investments because they are having huge hedge bankers, investment bankers, etc. So that's what the Canada government, they have been investing in the pension funds, LIC, right? So this is how investments and all have been happening between India and Canada. And Canada is the 18th largest foreign investor in India. Okay, so their investments amounts to 3,306 million from April 2000 to March 2023. Okay, and with respect to India and Canada, we are well known. Almost 40% of the international students belongs to India in the Canadian soil. And meanwhile, India and the Canada, they are having close relations in the science and research development. So now let us come to the Indian students in Canada. So we are having a staggering 40% share in the international students in Canada, right? So we are also having some contributions to the Canadian community. We are paying hefty fees, right? So it all acts as a resource for Canada. And we are also contributing to the well-being of the Canadian economy. Okay, so this is how the Indian students have been operating in the Canadian soil. And with respect to the biotechnology, the Department of Biotechnology under IC Impacts program, it implements joint research projects in healthcare, agri-biotech and waste management. But in these days, both the Canadian government and Indian government, they have been actively investing enormous resources in waste management because we have been emphasizing more on the circular economy, right? So that's what both the Indian government and the Canadian government, they have been pouring enormous resources in waste management, like the various alternatives for landfillings and all have been taking forward. Okay, and with respect to the exports and imports, we are doing massive exports with respect to the medicines, especially the generic drugs. Even during the pandemic, we exported millions and trillions of vials, that to the vaccination vials to Canada. Then we are also exporting some ornamental jewelry. Okay, so the Mumbai and the nearby towns are very popular for exporting the jewelry from India to Canada. Then we are also exporting rice because we are having almost 17 lakh migrants in Canada and they have been demanding Indian rice. So that's what the volume of rice is very high with respect to the exports basket. Then the heavy machineries these days, especially after 2000, India has been exporting heavy machineries to Canada. Then with respect to IT sector also, we are doing huge exports because as I already told you, Canada is having a well-connected banking system and hedge fund and investment banking. Okay, so that's what they have been taking the IT services from India at a cheaper price, right? Then with respect to imports, we have been importing coking coal, potash, masoor dal, wood pulp and newsprints. So coking coal, it is one of the major raw material for Indian steel industries. So with these repercussions in the India-Canada international relations, we need to look up for some alternative resources for coking coal. Okay. Then Canada, they are also dispatching huge volume of potash. In India, after urea, the potash is the second largest fertilizer what our farmers have been using. Okay. So in the future, we need to look up for some alternatives for these all raw materials. Okay. So that's what I want to tell you with the discussion. And we are also importing masoor dal, and masoor dal is one of the key component which has been ensuring the food security in India. Then with respect to the paper manufacturing industries in India, they are doing cheap wood pulp imports from the Canadian consignments. Okay, so the Canadian consignments are comparatively cheaper from the rest of the pulp what we are getting from Russia, US and all. Okay, so that's what we have been relying on more. That's what we have been relying more on the Canadian imports with respect to the wood pulp because they are in a temperate region and they are having several good quality of trees. Okay, so that's how we have been getting a good quality of wood pulp at a cheaper price. Okay, so this is with respect to the India-Canadian relation, guys. Basically, guys, with respect to this article, we had discussed what is happening between India and Canada over the assassination of the KTF, Khalistan Tiger Force Chief, and what are the outcomings we have been facing in the past 2 months, right? Then we had discussed about the history of the Khalistan movement. We had discussed about how they are urgent and what are the demands and what are the supports they were getting in the past and how they have been resurfacing now and what are the repercussions we are having in India and Canada relations, right? So with this note, let us wind up this article now. Let us move on to the next article. This is the second article, guys. Low king blood pressure poses a huge health risk in India. So apart from this article, we are also having another one article in the editorial page. Okay, so both are related to the hypertension. But I would advise no need to go deep into the topic. Just the facts what we had taken and what we are discussing with related to the topic is more than enough. Okay. So with respect to hypertension, we need to know what is meant by hypertension and how we are defining it and what are the factors which are the driving factors behind the hypertension, how we can resolve this issue and what are the initiatives we are having in India related to the hypertension, right? So these are all the stuff we are going to discuss in this article. And with respect to hypertension, we will be measuring the pressure in the arteries in both during the systolic and during the diastolic stages. Okay. So here is the systolic and diastolic. So systolic means the pressure what the arteries have been experiencing while pumping out the blood from the heart. Okay. And meanwhile, the diastolic means how much pressure the arteries have been experiencing while getting in the blood to the heart. Okay. So these are the two parameters related to the measurement of hypertension. Okay. And here the ratings and all had been given. The optimal systolic is less than 120 and optimal diastolic is less than 80. And the normal is between 120 to 129 and 80 to 84. High normal is 130 to 139 and in the diastolic 85 to 89. And the grade 1 hypertension is 140 to 159 in the systolic And diastolic, it is between the 90 to 99. And grade 2 is anything about 160. And with respect to the diastolic, anything above 100. Okay, this is the grade 2 hypertension. And with respect to the hypertension, it is not a disorder. Okay, it is curable, and we can keep the limits of the hypertension within the limits by following a regular diet pattern and a sleep pattern, right? So there are several measures we need to take to pull back the limits into the control. Okay, so that's what we are going to discuss here. And here in the image you can see the atherosclerosis. So here basically guys, we need to know about the atherosclerosis, because in the arteries, generally each and every artery is made up of some 3 layers. Okay, so endothelium is the internal layer, and in the endothelium we will be having a blood flow. Okay, so before the endothelium only the blood flow will be there, and over the age, okay, so over the age there will be a buildup of certain lipids, calcium and other cellular debris in the arteries, and it will be obstructing the passage of the blood flow. Okay, and moreover, over the age the arteries will become highly rigid. Moreover, if you are following a non-healthy diet pattern means it will become more rigid and it will result in the hypertension. Okay, so that's what the doctors have been advising us to take a huge amount of fresh vegetables, fruits, right? So if you are taking those foods and vegetables means it will lower the amount of free radicals what we are having in our body. Moreover, if we are reducing the free radicals means we will be reducing the damage what we are causing to the arteries and veins and all. That's how we can keep the check on the hypertension. So this is the main idea behind the atherosclerosis. So basically, atherosclerosis is a term used to mention the buildup of certain lipids and calcium and cellular debris in the arteries. Okay. So here the context. WHO in its statement it says that almost 1 among every 3 global citizens are having hypertension, and moreover people they won't be experiencing any symptoms related to the hypertension. So this is the major factor. Especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, we are witnessing a huge amount of people, they have been losing their life due to the cardiac arrest, right? So because of the hypertension also, the rate may be escalating in the post-pandemic. So this is what the WHO has been stating. And with respect to the hypertension, we are having 2 factors. One is genetic factors. In certain people, their genetic constituents will be abnormal, and it will be resulting the hypertension over the age. Okay, and most of the people they have been witnessing the hypertension because of the non-healthy lifestyle what they have been following. So the prime most is the salt consumption. So according to WHO, we are not supposed to breach the 5 gram. Okay, so the 5 gram of NaCl alone we are supposed to take every day. Okay, but in Indian context, we have been taking about 10 gram of salt every day. Moreover, among the children who have been consuming highly processed foods, they have been taking enormous amounts of salt. So in the future, it will be resulting hypertension. Then the sedentary lifestyle. So with respect to India, we know almost 70% of the labor force are employed in the IT sector, right? So where they will be following a sedentary lifestyle. So this also causing a huge rise in the hypertension. Then smoking, alcohol and lack of physical activities. So these are all the factors which have been escalating the hypertension in India. And the global statistics, it states that in the year of 1990, we were having 650 million population tested with hypertension. But in the 2019, so we are having almost a 6.5 billion population, right? Among them, 1.3 billion is having hypertension. So 1.3 billion people, they are having a grade 2 hypertension. So this is the main keynote we need to know. We are having several grades, right? So here in the image, you can see almost 1.3 billion people, they are having a grade 2 hypertension. So it is a treatable, but the patients, they are supposed to undergo regular checkups and regular medications. So this is what it needed, right? And with respect to India, we are having 188 million people under the hypertension. So that too between the age group of 30 and 79. So this is a huge volume, guys. Okay, 188 million people means almost we are having some 3% of the people under the hypertension. Okay, so this is a huge number, right? So then what are the symptoms? We will be having a heart palpitations, the heart arrhythmia, which means the irregular beatings will be there. When the people is having the hypertension means they will be witnessing their own heart rhythms and all. Okay, then the shortness of breath. So these are all the symptoms we will be having while in the hypertension stage. But the people generally, they will be ignoring these symptoms and they will be looking normal. Okay, so it won't be showing any external symptoms, but there will be some internal symptoms. So if we are keenly watching these internal symptoms means we can come to know we will be having a hypertension. Okay, and with respect to hypertension, we need to know what are the driving factors. So the first and foremost is the excess salt consumption is the prime factor for the hypertension. So therefore, we need to cut down the consumption of salt below 5 grams per day. Okay, this is the WHO norm. So we are supposed to bring down the salt consumption 5 gram per day. And the physical activity. So basically, the physical inactivity is the contributing factor for the hypertension. Therefore, people, they are advised to undergo a physical exercise. So for 5 days, almost 90 minutes time now. Okay. So for every day, we are supposed to undergo some 90 minutes of brisk walking or any other physical activity. So this is what WHO advisory has been mentioning. Then the smoking affects their heart health, right? So that's what people who are addicted to smoking, they are advised to undergo de-addiction techniques, right? Then sleep deprivation. So this is the common factor among the Indian citizens because a lot of people, as I already told you, they're deployed in the IT sector. So they are having sleep deprivation because of the extensive screening time, okay? So because of the extensive screening time, it will actually take a toll on the sleep pattern of the individuals. So if we are having below 6 hours of sleep means, then in the future, we would have the hypertension. Then the hypertension is common in adults who are aged more than 65. Okay. So this is a normal case. So if we are having excess people above the 65 age mark means, then we would be having the hypertension patient's load will be very high. Okay. So here, over the age, as I already told you, the atherosclerosis will be there, right? So because of the atherosclerosis, the aged people, they will be having the hypertension. Then people from certain ethnic origins, they are more prone to hypertension, especially the people from African and Caribbean ethnic origin. So both men and women from the African and Caribbean ethnic origin, they are more prone to hypertension. Okay. Then obesity has been detected as one of the early indicators of individuals, especially if we are having excess fat deposition in the waist means, then there will be hypertension in the future. Okay. So that's what people are advised to undergo a physical exercise every 5 days in a week for almost 90 minutes time span. Okay. Then having less amount of fiber in the diet can be another major issue. So that's what we are supposed to include more fruits and vegetables in the daily meals. So if we are taking more fruits and vegetable meals, we will be reducing the amount of free radical generations in the body. That's how we can bring down the factors which are driving behind the hypertension. Okay. Then, except these two factors, if we are following changes in the rest of the driving factors means, we can bring down 70% of patient load with respect to hypertension in India. Okay. So now let us have a look upon India's hypertension control initiative. So basically the program, it was launched in the year of 2017 and initially it covered only 26 districts across the 5 states. Because these are all the 5 states, they were having excess patient load with respect to the hypertension. So the states are Punjab, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana and Maharashtra. By 2020, it was expanded to another 26 districts, which includes another 5 states from the risk category. So that are Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Telangana and West Bengal. Okay. And the health ministry and the Indian Council of Medical Research and the state governments and the WHO. They all actually had erected a 5-year roadmap to monitor and treat the hypertension. But anyway, guys, with respect to India, we are actually lagging behind the international target what the WHO has set in. Okay, so even though with the help of India's hypertension control initiative, we brought down certain cases, okay, but still we are lagging behind the international targets. So this is what we need to know, because the food pattern or the diet pattern what we are having is highly excess in salt. So this is the prime factor behind the excess potential load of hypertension what we are having in India. And India, they are also having a 25 by 25 goal. So the goal aims to reduce premature mortality due to the NCDs by 25% by the year 2025. And one of the 9 voluntary targets includes the reducing the prevalence of the high blood pressure by 25% by 2025. So these are the 2 targets we are having under the 25 by 25 goal related to the hypertension. So with respect to this article, we had discussed what is meant by hypertension, what are the systolic and diastolic pressure, and what is atherosclerosis, and what are the driving factors we are having behind the hypertension, and what are the global and international data related to the hypertension, and what is India's hypertension control initiative, and how India have been partnering with several organizations against a fight in the hypertension. Okay, then how India has formulated a 25 by 25 goal. So these are the few stuffs we had discussed with respect to this article, right? Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the third article, guys. China, US and India absent at UN's Climate Ambition Summit. Okay. So the representatives from 34 states and 7 institutions were given the floor on the day of summit. So this is what they had discussed here, right? But with respect to this article, we know that about the Paris Agreement and the nationally determined contributions, right? So with respect to this article, we don't know the exact reason for the absence of China and the US. But with respect to India, we already updated the nationally determined contributions, right, in the year of 2022. In the year 2020, the UN, it asked the countries to give the NDCs, nationally determined contributions. Right now, they have been asking the every countries to update the NDCs. But with respect to India, India already updated the NDC, because in the year 2015, we were stated that according to the 2005 levels, we will be cut off the emissions by 35%. So this is what we made a commitment previously. But now in the year 2022, we actually updated the NDC and we stated that the emission cutoff will be 45% from the 2005 levels, right, by the 2030. So by the year 2030, we will be having a cutoff of 45% of the emission reduction according to the 2005 levels. So this is what we made a commitment under the 2022 updation of the NDCs. Then we also stated that we will be creating the excess carbon sinks, which is in the range of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent. The additional forest and tree cover will be created in India by the 2030. So on the one hand, we stated we will be reducing the energy emission by 45% according to the 2005 level. Then we stated that we will be creating additional carbon sinks, so which is in the range of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent. Then we also stated that by the year 2030, we will be having 50% of renewables in the energy basket. So right now, we have been depending excess on the supply of the non-fossil fuel energy sources, right? But by 2030, the government, it stated that it will be having 50% of the renewables in the energy basket. So this is how we committed to the UN in the year 2022. So already we updated the NDC. So that's what India, it didn't ensure its presence in the New York's UN Climate Ambition Summit. Okay. So this is a brief about this article. Then this is the fourth article, guys. This is related to the Ponzi scheme. So recent time, we have been witnessing several issues have been arising because of the Ponzi scheme, right? So lot of companies, they are doing a fraudulent activities and they have been nabbing the common people resources. So here, I hope you all well known about the pyramid structure, what these industries. This is the fourth article, guys. The promise of a Ponzi scheme. Okay. So generally, Ponzi schemes are fraudulent schemes, and they will be giving a commitment that they will be paying a huge amount of commissions. Okay. So this is how the system have been functioning. So several companies, they were doing a fraudulent activities in the name of Ponzi. Okay. So this is how the structure will be functioning. So generally, I hope you all well aware of the pyramid structure, what they have been following, right? So in India's context, we are having the Amway, okay, and Modicare. Lot of companies are there. They all were doing a fraudulent activities, and they will be siphoning off the resources from the common people. So what are the Ponzi schemes? It is a fraudulent investing scam promising high rates of return with a little risk to the investors. Generally, in the economy, any manufacturing industry or any service industry, they may generate 1% or 2% of the investments what they have been making in the process. Apart from that, no one is having the capacity to generate 5% of the returns or 10% of the returns like what the Ponzi schemes have been promising to the common people. So this is the brief, or this is the awareness we need to create among the common people. Then only we can stop them from investing in these fraudulent schemes, right? So the term Ponzi scheme, it was coined in the year 1919 after the name of an Italian conman named Charles Ponzi. So he is the first one who engineered the fraudulent mechanism to siphon off the resources from the people. And he arrived in the US in the year 1882 and made money through the fraudulent schemes. So basically he is an Italian and he landed in US in the year 1882 and he engineered the Ponzi and he siphoned off a huge amount of resources from the US citizens. Okay. So generally the Ponzi schemes, they are like a pyramid scheme and they will be promising that there will be a huge return on the investment what the investors and all have been making, and they will be telling you that there won't be any risk and all. Okay, so this is how they will be luring the people, and it relies on a constant flow of new investments to continue to provide return to the old investors. When the flow of fresh investment runs out, the scheme falls apart. So generally they will be following a pyramid structure, but over the course of time, the people who are supposed to join the schemes, they won't be joining, right? So the new joinees, they won't be there, and the investments and all will be stopped, and the entire schemes will be collapsed. So this is the impact of the Ponzi scheme. So this is what it has been explained here. They are generally a multi-level marketing schemes. However, multi-level marketing itself is not illegal in India because there are several products are there. There are several multi-level marketing schemes are there, and they are providing some remunerations to the investors. They are actually genuinely doing some mechanisms or operations, and they are giving the resources, giving the remunerations to the investors. Okay. So all the multi-level marketing schemes are not scams, but most of the scams which follow the pattern of the multi-level marketing, right? And here it has been stated that we are having several safeguards against the Ponzi schemes in India. So the Ponzi schemes are banned under the Price Cheat and Money Circulation Banning Act of 1978. It is a central act, but the respective state governments under their enforcement agency, they will also operate under the Price Cheat and Money Circulation Act. And these schemes, it will be dealt by the ED, the Enforcement Directorate, under the PMLA Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Okay. So under the PMLA Act, ED, they may attach the resources or they may freeze the bank accounts of the companies who are involving in the Ponzi schemes. And the banning of the Unregulated Deposit Schemes Act 2019 has been enacted to prevent fraudulent schemes. So apart from the Price Cheat and the Money Circulation Act of 1978, we are also having another two acts related to the Ponzi schemes. One is the PMLA Act and another one is the Banning of Unregulated Deposit Schemes Act of 2019. So these all schemes, they were having provisions related to the Ponzi. Okay. And the act, the Banning of the Unregulated Deposit Schemes Act of 2019, it provides for severe punishment ranging from 1 year to 10 years rigorous imprisonment, and apart from that they are also imposing fines which is in the range of 2 lakh to 50 crore. Okay, so it will be acting as a deterrent, right? So that's what they are also having, the rigorous imprisonment and the penalty, monetary penalty. And it has adequate provisions for disgorgement or repayment of deposits in cases where deposits have been raised illegally. So generally guys, with respect to the Ponzi scheme cases, generally the sources and all will be attached and the accounts and all will be freezed. So if there is any resources in the coffers means it will be given to the investors. Okay, and it mentions that first claim on the recovered money will be that of the depositors who are making a claim related to the investments. They will be given the resources what these agencies have been finding in the investigation, right? So the first come first serve mechanism has been following in the handover of the recovered money to the depositors. Okay, so this is a brief about the Ponzi scheme. With respect to this case, we had discussed what is meant by Ponzi scheme, right? And what are the safeguards we are having against the Ponzi schemes in India, right? Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the last article guys, a light bulb moment for the Indian fan market. So basically guys, this article has been discussing about the lightning and the cooling sector, what we are having in Indian context. And with respect to cooling domain, we are having numerous variants of air conditioners, air coolers and fans, right? But fans are omnipresent. In office, in home, everywhere will be having a fan, right? And moreover, in the article, they have been discussing about the BLDC fans. So BLDC, it is a novel technology. Okay. So here in the image, you can see, here we are having a stator. So this is the stator. Stator is a static part of the motor. Okay. And rotor is the rotational part of a motor. Generally, in the motor, we will be having a winding in the rotor sector and we will be passing electric current through the carbon brushes. The carbon brushes will be there and they will be providing an electric supply to the rotor, and that's how the rotor will be rotating, because the passing electric current will create a magnetic field, and the field in the stator and the rotor will be opposite, and this opposite magnetic attractions, it will tend to rotate the rotor what we are having in the core. So this is how the mechanism have been functioning in the fans. But with respect to BLDC, we are having a permanent magnet in the rotor. We don't have any windings. We are having a permanent magnet. So that's what it has been eliminating the usage of the carbon brushes. Because carbon brushes, because of high frictions, they are consuming enormous resources. So by keeping a permanent magnet in the rotor, we are cut off the utilization of carbon brushes, or we are eliminating the usage of the carbon brushes in the motors, right? So that's how we have been pulled down the resource consumption, and we have been enhancing the resource efficiency in the operations of the motor. So in the BLDC fan, the efficiency is almost around 50% to 70%. So if the normal fan, if it is consuming some 1 unit of electricity every day, means the BLDC fans, they will be consuming only 0.3 units every day. Okay. So generally the BLDC fans, they are a bit costlier because we are having a permanent magnet in the rotor, right? So the permanent magnet, it will cost a bit high, but over the course of time, we can recover the cost from the saving of the energy. Okay. So this is the brief we need to know about the BLDC. Now we are going to discuss about the India's cooling action plan. So under the India's cooling action plan, we are having several commitments. The first is related to reducing the cooling demand. Okay, we are going to reduce the cooling demand by 20% to 25% by 2037 to 2038. So the scheme was launched in the year 2017 by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay, so then the second target we are having is related to the energy requirements. We are going to reduce the energy requirements by 25% to 40% by 2037 to 38. And in line with Skill India mission, we are going to emphasize more on the training and the certification programs. Almost 1 lakh personals we are supposed to train under the India's cooling action plan in line with the Skill India mission. So this target, it should be achieved by 2022 to 2023, but we don't have any record related to the progress what we had achieved under the third target. And the last one is related to recognize cooling and related areas as a research thrust within the national science and tech programs. So with respect to cooling and related areas, we have been collaborating with the United States and the France. Okay. So we have been procuring certain novel technologies from both France and the United States, and we have been implementing in the Indian context. Right. Now let us discuss about the objectives what we are having in the India's cooling action plan. So the first objective, assessment of cooling requirements across 20 sectors in the next 20 years and the associated refrigerant demand and the energy use. So these all assessment we are supposed to complete by 2023. And under the second objective, we are going to map the technologies available to cater to the cooling requirement, including passive interventions, refrigerant-based technologies and alternative technologies such as not-in-kind technologies, because in ensuring the cooling, we will be doing certain alterations in the construction of the building itself, right? So it won't be calculated as a technology, but there will be certain modifications in the construction pattern alone. So that's what it has been discussed here. And moreover, as I already told you, we have been collaborating with France and the United States related to the technology procurement in the cooling domain, and suggest interventions in each sector to provide for sustainable cooling and thermal comfort for all. So this is the normal objective we are having under the India's cooling action plan. There is no specific target we had keep for achieving the third objective. Okay. Then the fourth one, focus on skilling of the refrigeration and air conditioning service technicians and develop an R&D innovation ecosystem for indigenous development of alternative technologies. So in the initial stage, we will be procuring certain novel technologies from the foreign destinations, and we will be doing a re-engineering, and we will be generating our own indigenous technology in the future. So this is what we are going to achieve under the India's cooling action plan, right? Now with this note, let us move on to the question section. So this is the mains question for you. Discuss hypertension. Enumerate the measures government can take to reduce the load in India, and elucidate your opinion that whether India is in line with the international goals of WHO in fighting against the hypertension. So basically guys, in today's discussion, we have discussed about what is meant by hypertension and what are the initiatives we are having in the global and in the Indian context, and what are the measures we can take to reduce the load of hypertension in India. So I hope you can frame the answer for the given question, right? Now with this note, let us move on to the prelim section. So this is the first prelims question, guys. Consider the statements regarding brushless DC fans. So the first statement, they are high efficient, reducing energy wastage up to 70% compared to the conventional fans. So in the brushless DC fans, we have been replacing a rotor with a permanent magnet, right? So that's how we are eliminating the usage of the carbon brush, and we are achieving the higher efficiency in operations. So the first statement is right. Then the second statement, carbon brush is the integral part of the machine, reducing the energy wastages. So carbon brush, it is the integral part of the machine. It is the causative factor for the excess energy consumption. Okay. So the second statement is wrong. So answer option 1 alone is the right one for the question number 1. So this is the second question, guys. With reference to the agreement at the UNFCCC meeting in Paris in 2015, which of the following statements are correct? So this was the previous year prelims question. It was asked in the year 2016. So the agreement was signed by all the member countries, right? All the member countries of the UN, and it will go into effect in 2017. So while this question came, almost some 80 members were signed, and it is not all the members. Okay. So this is the extreme statement we can eliminate. Then the second statement, the agreement aims to limit the greenhouse gas emissions so that rise in the average global temperature by the end of the century does not exceed 2 degrees Celsius or even 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. So this is true. Okay. Then the third question. Third statement is related to developed countries acknowledged their historical responsibility in global warming and committed to donate $1,000 billion a year from 2022 to help developing countries to cope up with the climate change. They made a commitment, but it is not $1,000 billion, it is $100 billion every year. Okay. So the Third statement is factually incorrect, and we are having only one option. Option B is the right one for question number 2. So finally guys, we are arriving at the end of the discussion. I hope you would be liking this discussion. Kindly press the like button and subscribe ForumIAS in all social media platforms. Let me catch you in another discussion tomorrow. Thank you for your patience. Bye.